I'm going to be reading Abuela by Arthur Doris, illustrated by Elisa Clevin. Abuela takes me on the bus. We go all around the city. Abuela is my grandma. She is my mother's mother. Abuela means grandma in Spanish. Abuela speaks mostly Spanish because that's what people spoke where she grew up, before she came to this country. Abuela and I are always going places. Today we're going to the park. El parque es el lindo, says Abuela. I know what she means. I think the park is beautiful too. Tantos pajaros, Abuela says, as a flock of birds surround us. So many birds. They're picking up the bread we brought. What if they picked me up and carried me high above the park? What if I could fly? Abuela would wonder where I was. Swooping like a bird, I'd call to her. Then she'd see me flying, Rosalba the bird. Rosalba el pajaro, she'd say. Ven, Abuela, come, Abuela, I'd say. Si quiero volar, Abuela would reply as she leaped into the sky with a skirt flapping in the wind. We would fly all over the city. Mira, Abuela would say, pointing. And I'd look as we soared over the parks and streets, dogs and people. We waved to people waiting for the bus. Buenos dias, we'd say. Buenos dias, good morning, they'd call up to us. We'd fly over factories and trains. And glide close to the sea. Seca del mar, we'd say. We'd almost touch the tops of the waves. Abuela's skirt would be a sail. She could race with the sailboats. I'll bet she'd win. We'd fly where the ships are docked and watch people unload fruits from the land where Abuela grew up. Mangoes, bananas, papayas. Those are all Spanish words. So are rodeo, patio, and bureau. Maybe we'd see a cousin of Abuela's, hooking boxes of fruit to a crane. We saw her cousin Daniel once, unloading and loading the ships. Out past the boats in the harbor, we'd see the Statue of Liberty. Mi gusta, Abuela would say. Abuela really likes her. I do too. We would circle around Liberty's head and wave to the people visiting her. That would remind Abuela of when she first came to this country. Vamos al aeropuerto, she'd say. She'd take me to the airport where the plane that first brought her landed. Cuidado, Abuela would tell me. We'd have to be careful as we went for a short ride. Then we could fly to Tio Pablo's and Tia Elisa's store. Pablo is my uncle, my Tio, and Elisa is my aunt, my Tia. They'd be surprised when we flew in, but they'd offer us a cool limonada. Flying is hard work. Pero quiero volar más, Abuela would say. She wants to fly more. I want to fly more too. We could fly to Las Nubes, the clouds. One looks like a cat, un gato. One looks like a bear, an oso. One looks like a chair, una silla. Descansó al momento, Abuela would say. She wants to rest a moment. We rest in our chair. And Abuela would hold me in her arms with the whole sky, our house, nuestra casa. We'd be as high as airplanes, balloons and birds, and higher than the tall buildings downtown. We'd fly there too, to look around. We could find the building where my father works. Hola, papa, I'd say as I waved, and Abuela would do a flip for fun as we passed by the windows. Mira, I hear Abuela say. Look, she's telling me. Do look, and we're back in the park. We are walking by the lake. Abuela probably wants to go for a boat ride. Vamos a otra aventura, she says. She wants us to go for another adventure. That's just one of the things I love about Abuela. She likes adventures. Abuela takes my hand. Vamos, she says. Let's go. So I chose this book because when I first looked at it, read through it, I liked how it had the Spanish phrases like that, especially when Abuela speaks and she says the Spanish phrases, and then Rosalba would say what that means right after, how it's before. Looks like a cat, a bear, and then has Spanish. I thought that was very helpful, especially if you're someone that wants to learn more Spanish. Makes it fun for them, and especially if you're reading it to like first grade, probably the grade that I would read. First grade, and children, want to know what that word means or how to pronounce it. It has the glossary at the ending here, which is incredibly helpful because it shows how to pronounce the word. It says what it means, like what the phrase means. I think that's very cool. I know that some of the books that we read in class had the glossary at the ending, so I think it's very helpful when children's books has this at the ending. And then I like the themes of family, which is a big one in this book. The connection between Abuela and Rosalba shown throughout. You can tell that Rosalba loves hanging out with her Abuela, especially even before they start flying, when they're in the park feeding the birds, which is in the beginning of the story. And how she's explained how she loves going on adventures with her Abuela. And they're feeding the birds. And then, when they start flying in the sky, and they're flying together. When they're flying together and they're going over the park, and then they go over the city, and then they just, which I like a lot because when they're flying over the city, I like a lot because, especially the illustration, which is another reason why I chose this book. It's very, very, very colorful, very detailed. You can see the chalk drawings on the sidewalk, see the people in the windows, crossing the streets, etc. And I just love that because it definitely adds to the story, especially the colorfulness. And Abuela's skirt, colorful stars. I think, I know the reason, the reason for the colorfulness is to add to Rosalba's imagination, colorful, childlike imagination when she's flying with her Abuela. Very intentional, especially when skirt, just a lot of color, especially her skirt too, rainbow, very colorful. It definitely adds to the childlike imagination that we can see as they're flying. And you can see a lot of themes of immigration. Again, when they talk about the first plane that brought Abuela to America, the Statue of Liberty that Abuela saw when she first came to New York. Just a lot of showing what it was like when she was first coming, and that she was nervous, excited, and then the shows from Mexico, where her family is from, and just how close a connection they all have with each other, no matter